A new survey shows tariffs are a top concern for shoe execs in 2025. Oh man,
It's on
you know
site.
what?
I said this shit like 2 years ago, year and a half ago. Did I not say that?
What's ironic about this is that we saw this 5-6 years ago when Trump was in office first time. Because this ain't the first time he did the whole tariff thing or threatened to do the tariff thing.
Mhm.
And off rip, people were like, "Oh shit!" Like already calling themselves trying to get in front of it and adjusted for it. So anyway. An article written by Sashi Cement for Footwear News, a new survey from the FDRA, the Footwear Distributors and Retailers of America, revealed that the government's tariff policy is the top issue for a majority of shoe executives in 2025. Data from the survey represents a tripling amount of concerned executives from the prior quarter, where trade policy was also cited as a key issue moving forward. The data comes as Trump announces new tariff plans that could have dire impacts on the cost of footwear. These numbers about to get funny. 99% of the shoes sold in the U.S. are imported primarily from China, Vietnam, and Indonesia. Trump vowed to impose a 10 to 20% tariff on imports from all foreign countries and an additional 60 to 100% tariff on imports specifically from China. Now, here's what's funny. And
I'll let you go last because I'm going to go last like a verse from the 90s.
Well, let me finish reading that, then we can go. Trump also recently said that he plans to impose a 25% tax on all products entering the U.S. from Canada and Mexico, plus an additional 10% tariff on imports from China. According to the FDRA survey, 3 in 5 respondents expect to see higher costs due to tariffs in 2025, and 37% expect to see retail prices rise by more than 5% next year. Now, number of things that I want to respond to. Basically, if it's not made in the U.S., it's going to get taxed. Now, here's the problem with, and I swear to God, I'm glad I took economics because people have to know this. We've been basically importing more than we've been exporting since the 1970s.
Shit, maybe before then.
Right? No, I think it was like the early 1970s. I want to say like 71, 72 is when we officially crossed that line where we bring more shit in than we, right? And
who was president then? Ronald Reagan.
In the 70s?
No, Reagan was 80s.
That would have been Nixon if it was late
60s, early 70s.
Yeah,
Was that Nixon?
Oh, right. Republican president. But go ahead. Go ahead. Keep going. Because I got a great rebuttal for all of this.
So,
go ahead.
So here's my thing, right? Because everybody has this, and there's so many different ways I want to go, and it's hard not to make it political, but at the same time, here's the thing. So, which way do I want to hit? I'm not even going to attack Trump, which will be easy to do. I'm going to just attack this policy. So, we seen like a small sample size of this back in his first presidency when he tried to do the whole tariff thing with China over, I forgot it was, but he basically had to subsidize farmers because they were on the losing end of that battle. Once again, when you import more than you export, you are at the mercy of the people. The reason why people have been bitching all year for the last 4 years about the cost of living, the reason why the cost of living was so cheap is because we import more than we export. We get shit from China. Why? Because it's cheaper to make shit in China. Therefore, it's cheaper to produce the product. Therefore, you're going to get cheaper prices than something that's made here in America, right? This is why damn near every company produces shit. What's ironic is, I'm trying not to make this political. Ironically, the same guy that's telling you to make shit in America, he tried to develop an app, right? Was it True Social? He outsourced the developers. He didn't get American developers. He outsourced. He got cheaper developers. So the same guy that's trying to sell you a pipe dream is not necessary. Long story short, the problem with these taxes are, one, we pay those. China doesn't pay these tariffs. Vietnam doesn't pay these tariffs. Indonesia does not pay. You as the consumer pay these. It's basically a tax.
Ha! Gay!
We end up paying these things. So if you was mad about the cost of living before, you really about to be mad about the cost of living now. And so, I think from what I've heard from different speeches, the idea is to get manufacturing back here to the U.S. That's never going to happen. One, you're talking about putting the toothpaste back in the
we
tube.
don't have the infrastructure to support that.
That's my point. COVID, once again, sample size, right? That should tell you the amount of disruption COVID created around the world, right, should tell you what supply chains, distribution channels, all that type of infrastructure now has to change from that country to this country. You're talking about years of disruption, right? Not to mention, if let's just say hypothetically, every company was like, okay, we're going to manufacture in the U.S., it's going to be hard enough to sell product here. You're basically going to see any amount of like competition in any other country anywhere because they can't afford it. You're not going to be able to sell in Mexico. You're not going to be able to sell in Brazil, whatever, because they can't afford it. That's why when people talk about it, they oversimplify it. Well, if we just make the stuff here, yeah, that sounds nice. But once again, the reason, like, you buy shit off of Temu, you shop at Walmart. Why? Because it's cheaper. Well, why is it cheaper? Because it's fucking made in China. It's not made here. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't. Like, I honestly, it's almost to the point where it's just like, you know how you tell your kid not to touch the stove, and they're just determined to touch the stove anyway? You know what? There's nothing I'm gonna tell you that's gonna make any sense to you. Touch the stove. That's the only way you're gonna learn. So,
Dad.
And I mean, that's the sad, but we are in the fuck around and find out era. So, all right, cool. So all these tariffs, they sound good. I mean, to who, I don't know, but they sound good to somebody. They sound good to somebody. These shoes are about to go through the fucking roof. And it's not just, and let me just say this, it's not just Nikes. We're talking about
everybody.
99% of shoes are sold in the U.S. are imported primarily from China, Vietnam, and Indonesia. Well, 99%.
But even if it's not the shoes actually being imported into the U.S., some of the materials have
that
to get
part
imported.
too. That's
so
another
like,
thing.
So like even like for New Balance, right? New Balance claims to be made American made.
A couple of shoes are now.
Yeah, but what? Right.
I looked that up. It's like three shoes,
like three or four shoes.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
And that was like $200.
Where they sourcing their materials from?
Other countries.
So I mean, at the end of the day,
I don't think people really realize. You know what it is? I've learned that, like, when you don't know how something works, it's easy to convince you. Case in point, right? We got a guy at my job, supervisor actually, doesn't have a skilled trades background, right? One day we had a breakdown, and just to get him out of our hair, somebody told him we needed a flux capacitor. Now, if you've ever seen Back to the Future,
he actually.
So
swear to God,
he spent 2 hours looking for a flux capacitor. As a matter of fact, he even went to the supervisor's meeting later that morning. Was like, we need to stock up on flux capacitors.
You told the story.
I told the story.
Yeah.
But you know why we was able to get away with that? Because he didn't fucking know, right?
Damn, how he get there though?
I don't know.
Damn,
I'll give you another example. So
we should reclassify DEI hire.
Listen, I So as an electrician, right? People ask me all the time to come look at their house. Mm-hmm. This is after they either tried to do it themselves or had somebody else do it.
You sound like a chicken movie on Tubi.
Get him out of here. Get him out.
I've seen this before.
So look. So they always ask me to come after the fact, right? Because they always try to do it themselves. What ends up happening is
Tubi movies are American made.
There you go. About to tax those too. Here's the thing though. What ends up happening is they end up fucking up some shit because they don't have the knowledge, expertise, or experience in which to discern good information from bad information. So what makes sense to them is not necessarily the proper way to do things. So they end up doing something based on their own knowledge, based on whatever YouTube video they decide to watch, and they'll do something, and then they'll call me and say, hey, can you fix this? My point is, when you don't know, it's easy to sell you on some bullshit, right? And so I think a lot of people are going to fucking find out real quick that some people don't know what the fuck they talking about. And, you know, I mean, dude ain't go bankrupt as many times as he did because he was fucking a genius. It's one thing to have tariffs. It's another that's like
I guess
60%. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, you talking about jumping 60%, 100%, 25%, 10%,
I mean,
depending on where it comes from. And they talking about China, which, you know, China was like a big...
Makes everything.
Yeah, but yeah. I never understood this point that America takes with China is like, you trying to oppose them with tariffs, but it's like, fam, your whole economy is in their hands. You know what I'm saying? So if they ever want to give them some BMF and cut your water off, it would be problematic.
Put some respect on my name. You understand me? When y'all saying my name, put some respect on it.
They gonna say, yeah, you got all them B-stuff bombers. Yeah, you got all that surveillance. But if I cut this off, and then you typing.
You see how they did with TikTok? Like people about to kill themselves.
Yeah, you cut off.
I mean, that was us, but
yeah,
still.
But
we're trying to say we're cutting off TikTok.
You cut
everybody in the city be on suicide watch.
So to me, I don't understand that. You typing on your iPhone to Elon Musk. Yeah, we raising tariffs. The iPhone was made in China. Like it's just like it don't even make no sense. But he don't care because he don't have to pay for nothing. Excuse me. So he don't really care. Or if they have when you're in that circle, you have so much money. It doesn't phase you, or you can write everything off, so you never really feel it no way. To me, I don't understand. He laid out this plan. There were several economic strategists that says, hey, if you go with his economic plan, this is what it's going to be. Everybody in this certain class bracket, your tax is going to go up this amount. Everybody in this tax bracket, which is really the 1%, you're going to save $36,000 on tax. They literally laid this out for you. Her tax strategy would keep us afloat and actually be beneficial to the middle class. And people still chose that way for whatever reason it is. And this is what comes with it.
But
and it's not like
those are liberal economists.
Here's my thing.
Fake
it's
news.
not even like you. This is you didn't know what you was gonna get. You already had a sample size with him.
That wasn't even a sample size.
I mean, it's like,
but here's what's crazy though.
Yes.
I've seen so many people make these arguments. Was like, well, what makes them an authority on this subject? Why we got to listen to them? Because they studied it for like years. Like you think an
economist is an economist because they're an economist.
Yeah, like it ain't just like they decided one day I'm gonna be an economist and just start typing out shit.
And
like,
she had her economy plan laid out on her website. He just gave you, I'm gonna do this.
She wasn't black enough.
Figure it out, huh?
She wasn't black enough. Remember?
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm from this economist point.
Saying, no, I'm being facetious.
But yeah, I'm like that was laid out on that behalf. So when you coming to this, and the people who got his vote are the people who's gonna affect the most. Like, and I'm just looking like I already know why certain people group for him, but it was the other ones like women. Like you do know you're a part of DEI, so if he removes that affects you too. Right?
I mean, let's
birthright too, and
let's go beyond that.
We got like 15 minutes.
The Latino community.
Minutes.
I mean,
but no, real quick.
To me, that was the one where it was like, really?
The
trying
what?
to get rid of y'all.
The what now?
The Latino community.
Oh, that was wild. But here's the thing that, because I think this is part of the problem though, right? Like, because you brought up the economist and whatever, like. And I always laugh because people be like, well, what makes them an authority on this? And I'm like, because they fucking studied it. Like, this is their expertise. Just like you got a job, right? If somebody came off the street, not you, but theoretically who this person is. If somebody came off the street trying to tell you to do your job, you going to be offended. Why? Because you feel like you know your job better than they ever would because you've been there longer and you've done it more because of your experience. But yet you want to challenge a scientist, an economist, because of some YouTube video you saw somewhere. Like, to think that this parity between my Google search and your years of research is, I think this is how we got there. Like if another electrician wanted to like challenge me, okay, fine, right? Because you have the license or whatever the credentials, right? But to have somebody like, well, I looked on YouTube and I saw this video and I think you're doing this wrong. Like
you still challenge. You challenged Nike CEO before. You don't have a jurisdiction.
I just ask questions.
You don't have a jurisdiction.
I just ask
questions. You do
questions.
not have a jurisdiction.
No, I ask questions.
That wasn't no questions. That was a back
you was there.
and
I
forth.
asked questions.
I wasn't there. I heard
Have you ever been a CEO?
Questions. No, the one.
No, don't talk about the Black History for Air Force One.
No.
Telling me about how I should look at that for a
television. Well,
that's
that
what
was
I'm talking
stupid.
about. That's the one I'm talking about.
I can't believe you even said that.
That's
shit.
the one I'm talking about.